What is going on, guys and girls? It's Ghost Robo, and this is gigantic. I have been so excited to make this video. I got a chance to play and record this game at PAX East, and holy moly, it is so freaking cool. This is a MOBA, not a MOBA, character action game with incredible art and amazing, diverse characters from indie studio Motiga. It's headed up by James Finney, who was a lead designer for StarCraft and Guild Wars, so a good pedigree. And they are putting that muscle to work here. It was announced at PAX East that this game is coming to Xbox One and Windows 10, and I can't think of a better word than cool to really describe my experience and just the overall feel of Gigantic. You'll notice right off the bat that the art and the style is so gripping. I think this is like a dream pairing of super sweet character action, combat, with fantastical, amazing artwork and design. It's like a dream world that I just want to be a part of. Such a tough time picking these characters because they're all so cool. Of course, you have your traditional healers, snipers, your supports, your tanks, but they have a very vast and different slate of attacks. Now, the MOBA part comes because it's a 5-on-5 game in an arena on a map, one side versus one side. But there are a lot of things that differentiate it, and internally I've heard they're not even calling it a MOBA. They think of it more as a character action team game. There's some asynchronous aspects, and the name Gigantic comes from these two giants. You'll see meters at the top of the screen that indicate our Lord and Protector. These two giants are the crux of this game. In order to win, we must take down all three segments of the giant's health. The way we do that is by building up our own power meter that can be filled via XP, via kills, via just doing really good. Once we fill that up, our giant will streak across the map, attack the other giant, and leave him or her vulnerable for damage. At that point, we can do up to one segment of damage, so a minimum of 3 giant strikes basically in order to kill the enemy's giant, and then we win. In between all that, though, is a pretty ferocious combat game, and you'll notice right off the bat we have a jump. We're flying around as if we're some fancy freaking fox, and in fact, that's what we are. Undulation, height, perches, all sorts of things that you wouldn't come to expect from a traditional MOBA. There's also no creeps. I'm approaching a point here where you're able to summon a helper character, sort of a stationary summon that will provide buffs for your team, but other than that, it's just you. And the game seems to me to focus heavily on what you're getting right here, which is that awesome action between the characters as they push their attacks and work together to build up this meter. Now, I'm skipping around the game a little bit just to skip out on some of the loading times and whatnot. The game is not finalized. They're still working on sort of some aspects, some flow, business model, all that. Here you'll see me summoning a creature that, again, give you like a UAV type bonus or a health bonus. But let's talk about attacks. What can my guy do? Well, he's got his traditional bow and arrow strike that you're seeing with the reticle. I was playing with mouse and keyboard. Obviously, it'll be a controller game as well. But the other attacks I had were so awesome. I have a decoy, which seems, expected for a bow and arrow type character, but I also have a poison lace shot that drops toxins at my feet in case enemies get in close. I've got a healing burst that then leads to a super jump where I can help my team like leap up to that ledge you're seeing in the foreground. And every time I level up, I'm getting points to expand on these 4 base skills, as well as an ultimate skill. That's the 5th one on the right of my ability bar. There's that super jump. I didn't do it really good there. I just learned it. I get better as the match goes on. But it was so cool just to see the variety of animation, the variety of movements, the variety of characters. I had a chance to play another match as a melee-focused guy, which was a whole lot of fun. He had a big slam attack, and it was just much more up and in your face, dealing a lot of damage. But right off the bat, this is something I can see just taking off. I hope it finds a player base. I hope people really glom onto the art style like I did. I was thinking about Evolve and how much I love that game, and there's aspects here that remind me of it. It's 5-on-5, everybody kind of playing their classes, a giant monster at the end of the map. Obviously, this is much more of a brawler / action arena thing than Evolve, which is much more first-person shooter, although the similarities aren't as far off as you might think. But what I love here is that there's so much personality. Holy crap. Like, one of my biggest complaints about the Evolve Hunters is that they lack a lot of charm. I love my favorite one and whatnot, but other than that, they're just humans. Here, every character. I wanted to be everyone. They had all the character portraits like posted on the wall in the room where I played, and I was like, oh my god. Me and my brother just stared at them like, who the heck are we supposed to be? They're all awesome. It controlled really well. It played great. I love the fact that there was sort of the enhanced level of movement. As you see there, I can leap up and pursue this guy, get the kill, drop some poison, really get him going, and we'll pick up a kill here, give myself some XP. Bar at the bottom fills up, gain an ability point. Every other level it looked like, or at set junctures, you were able to give a passive bonus to your character as a whole, like a stat boost. There was no item shop to speak of. Again, this isn't final, so who knows what they end up doing. I wonder if the business model will be akin to kind of like, you know, League of Legends, rotating group of heroes. It seems like the game would allow for multiple maps. There's nothing that ties this to a specific layout. You know, the lanes aren't really like the focal point here. It's much more about moving around, coordinating attacks, and looking super awesome along the way. There's some smart innovations as well. So as the game reaches a certain point, they will kind of activate an endgame scenario where all of a sudden the field of play is drastically reduced, and you're in close quarters and have to use your best skill to take out their heroes and eventually take out that giant. I just like the whole system of fighting for a purpose. You know, turrets are fun, big crystals are fun, but the fact that there is a massive beast is absolutely epic, and seeing it, you know, crush the opponent as it cruises along the field of play is just a fantastic visual treat. Now, I wonder how deep they go with this. Do they introduce a bunch of giants and you can kind of align with a certain faction? Do the giants have different attacks? Is there any benefit to the giants? Do they get any more, you know, meta with that kind of system, or are the giants, as you're seeing here, rushing across the field over my head? Who cares that I was killed? Our guardian is ready to attack. That's all I really care about. But do they introduce strategy in that aspect where teams get to pick that? Or is it more just about the characters? And the cool thing about me being dead here is you're getting a chance to look at a lot of the variety in the other playable creatures, characters, frogs and dogs and grandmas and whatever else they got going on. For a game that I had never heard of until the week of PAX, I found this to be brilliant. It was a big smile on my face, a big surprise, and something I wanted to play more of instantly. Like, I'm desperate to get back in and just kind of dive deeper. Now, will this be something that catches on and holds its own with the best of the best in terms of MOBAs? I'm not sure. You know, that's something only time can tell. I hope it builds a player base just because I think the ideas they have are really, really awesome. But you never know with these kinds of things. There's so many that try and fail, and what determines, you know, what really attaches onto a player base or not. This isn't trying to compete directly with League of Legends or Dota 2, which I think is smart. It's going to be its own kind of thing and maybe more capture a console audience. It is going to be on console, and, you know, it should be. It feels much more like an experience that translates well to console. The Smite comparison is one that can instantly be made, but again, as you've seen from the first 8 minutes of this video, there is so much more mobility and much more third-person action game stuff in Gigantic than there is in Smite, which still adheres to much more of the traditional MOBA movement, grounded kind of attacks, aiming system. Here, we're much more our own creatures duking it out together, but I was impressed by the variety. Like I said, my character, poison laced arrows, decoy, healing burst, super jump, playing as a tank that had, you know, a smash and a shield and things like that. The healers, you know, have beams. There's a bunch of really great stuff in terms of, like, one of the healers, you know, builds these orbs that then boost her attack, and she can sacrifice the orbs to do different things. Just, I think the game will gain a lot, in the same way Overwatch gains a lot of hype from its, there's another giant there, the opposing giant, because the character variety is so, it's very, it manages to be really fun without being super overwhelming. Now, from a competitive standpoint, I don't know if that's going to be a problem. They haven't decided yet if they're going to allow duplicate characters or how the drafting or anything will work. So eventually, do you need to know, like, oh my god, that's a sniper, I better watch out, or oh my god, that's a tank? They did a good job, though, of making the tanks, like, very large, the healers very lithe, the snipers very mobile. So you can kind of tell from that standpoint, but will it be necessary to kind of memorize the cast and crew so that you know what you're going up against each time, so you don't accidentally run into my guy who has poison, you know, at his feet, so you don't run into somebody that can unleash a counterattack, that sort of stuff. I'll be curious to see how it plays out, but man, it was one of those charming PAX moments where you play something and you're like, wow, this isn't, you know, God of War, this isn't Uncharted, this isn't Halo, it's not Call of Duty, but dang is it really fun, dang is it really good, and man, do I want to play more. All in all, it was a strong indie show for PAX East. I went in feeling like it might be a disappointment. There wasn't a whole lot of AAA presence there. I mean, Overwatch and Splatoon. I got hands-on time with The Witcher 3, which was awesome. But, you know, Sony didn't bring Bloodborne. Microsoft brought a lot of things that were previously shown and you know, coming out within a week, but the indie scene really stole the show, and it started for me with Gigantic. It led on with Enter the Gungeon and Severed and Necropolis and a handful of other really cool games. But this one, I don't know, I see myself probably playing the most of this game, especially because it's going to hold a console presence. It looks great, and I'm just incredibly already addicted to the art style, and like, the kid in me wants to find a favorite character and learn everything about him or her and really just like throw up a poster of this guy on my wall because they look so sweet. There's been a lot of dialogue in this video, which I hope isn't like messing with your mind. There was team speak on while I was recording, so that is why the game volume has been low. But ultimately, you're just hearing some like booms of my arrows, and mostly it's a visual experience to see what's going on. Like I mentioned, it controlled really well. I'm curious to see what they do with kind of the map and the UI. I thought that could have used some work. You'll notice there is a constant mini-map up there, but just in terms of, sometimes I felt a little bit lost of where I was going. After you die, you launch back from your base, which is kind of a lengthy process as well. You'll notice here I'm picking a passive stat, and this is a choice that I get every other level, or maybe it was every third level. With the ability points that you can spend on your hero, those are branching trees that increase, you know, maybe it's a longer duration of poison, maybe it does more damage, maybe it can infect more than one target, the decoy lasts longer, the decoy can take more damage, things like that you'll be able to make some choices to kind of customize your character how you want. And to me, it looks like they're going that route as opposed to the item shop route, which kudos to them. Like, I like that personally as someone that finds League of Legends and Dota 2 very overwhelming based on the sheer amount of choice and proficiency you must have in all these different facets: actual gameplay, memorization of other characters, the item shop. The clash here is what I mentioned earlier, where they shrink things up and it all gets very confined and crazy because they want to really push this towards an end game, which I think is a pretty cool idea as well. It helps things stay short. This match, I think, ended up taking about 22 minutes in total without some of the cuts I made, which I think is a fine length. If you're thinking of like Evolve, which I love, you know, those games last anywhere from like, you know, 10 to 25 minutes, and that just seems to be the perfect amount of time, especially because this is so much more involved from like a, you know, a hands-on controller standpoint. I think 45 minutes of this might get tiresome, but 20 feels pretty good. We are now going crazy on this this Titan here. I'm zooming in. There's our giant. I really hope there's multiple giants. I think that would be really fun to kind of pick your favorite there. And now we're going to fire at some of these other guys and go after their giant. And I think actually I get the killing blow, so that will be pretty cool. Let's see if I can do that actually right about now. And here we are. The Guardians are attacking, and I am going to get in there. You'll see up at the top of your screen that the enemy Guardian has very low health, and I want to get in there and grab the final blow. My arrows of might, my arrows of doom. Can we finish this fight? Let's finish it soon. Thank you guys for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you'll check out Gigantic. I think it would be really cool if this game developed a following, and there's the killing blow for me. Extra XP cheers in the background, and I give this game a big 2 thumbs up. One of my favorite things I saw at PAX East, probably the highlight of my indie time there on that side of the show, and big kudos for Modiga for developing something super unique, super cool, and hopefully it finds its own space. Until next time, everybody, thanks again. Drink so much, all have a fantastic day. Hit that like button if you enjoyed this video, and we will see you all later.